Namaste everybody, Lisa Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and I wanted to stop by and do a quick, well, I'm intending to be a quick video on what it means to affirm the inner child. So let's just talk about, when we talk about the inner child, what is the inner child? The inner child is that, think about the self. You have many selves, right? You have the self that you were when you were 1. You have the self that you were when you were 2. You have the self that you were when you were 3, then you were 4, then you were 24. You have the self in you that, has lived through everything that you've absolutely experienced in your life, right? So we have all these selves, all these experiences that have been downloaded into us that very oftentimes trauma has not permitted us to be allowed to process and release, right? And so when I talk about the inner child, I'm talking about that self within you that was once traumatized, that is stuck or frozen in time because of the trauma, right? When we are traumatized at a point in life, we could be 54 years old like I am, and we can be traumatized. And if something terrible could happen to me, and if I don't have the cognitive skills to process what just happened, then I freeze. Then what that means is that the trauma hasn't been allowed to be processed, to be filtered out of me. It hasn't been allowed to dissolve or be resolved, right? So there's some rumination involved, there's unfinished business. It's not settled, it's still within me, right? I could have cognitive dissonance related to the trauma. I'm just not settled, I'm just not resolved. It hasn't been resolved, right? And so when we think about the inner child, I'm thinking about not just the 3-year-old self, but the child self that we once were when we were at a very critical point in our lives where being mothered was absolutely crucially important. When having, especially a mom, dads too, but having a motherly figure, if you will, and having a fatherly figure, having authority figures in our lives that represented, mom and dad, these energies, having these people show up in our lives for us, having them be able to be there to witness us. Witness what? Our emotions, right? Witness what? Our experiences, our sadness, our grief, our confusion, to witness our joy even. And so when we are very young and we are at a critical stage where we understand this is so important, and so many of us do not value this enough. The younger you were at the time of your trauma, the more dependent you were upon the people that traumatized you, the more deeply affected you have been. So we have to consider our state of mind or our state of being at a point of trauma. So a 3-year-old child that has a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old sibling to rely on, right, will experience a certain level of trauma. But the 12-year-old who has no one to lean on and who knows that she or he is all alone, right, will experience a different type of trauma, but both will be traumatized. The more powerless and alone that we felt, and the more we trusted the people that traumatized us, the more affected we are by things that happened to us when we were younger. It is absolutely critical that we understand that our childhood experiences are the foundation for our adult lives. The more unpredictable, the more unstable our childhood, the more unsafe, the more ridiculous, the more change, the more influx, the more unsafe our childhoods were, the more fragile we feel as adults. We suffer from imposter syndrome, we suffer from codependency, we shut ourselves down, we isolate, we get diagnosed with panic anxiety disorder, we get diagnosed with borderline disorder, bipolar disorder, we develop eating disorders, and the disorder is related to a childhood disorder. A disordering of what should have happened in our childhood, and that's not our fault. But as adults, we often stay asleep and we don't even think about why we're depressed or where this anxiety is coming from, or why is it so difficult for me to trust people, or why do I keep hitting a freaking wall every time I get going, bam, out of nowhere, the shit shows up, right? It's because the shit is still there. It never went away, right? But it has to be resolved. And so resolving implies, at least in my mind, the idea that something's dissolved, right? So we want to dissolve. What are we trying to dissolve? I'm always trying to figure out what is the problem, because if I could figure out the problem, then I could figure out the solution. And so childhood beliefs are keeping us stuck, and faulty childhood experiences are keeping us stuck. So then the answer is, well, how do we resolve, or how do we dissolve what's keeping us stuck? Trying to figure out what's keeping us stuck, we have to return to childhood, right? If something's showing up in our adulthood, right, we have to respect that something's tied to our childhood, right? If there's a crack in the third floor of a house, there's a chance there's something wrong with the foundation, right? If the ship is sinking, there's a hole in the boat, right? Can't see the hole that's in the boat, or you can't understand like what's happening. Why is this boat sinking? Even if you can't see the hole, you know that you're taking on water. And so it's important for us to recognize that our outer experience, our 3D life, is really tied to our subconscious life, which is the life that we can't see, right? It's the life, it's our past, it's it's metaphysical, right? And we can, through our thoughts, right, through our conscious focus of our thoughts today, we can affect what's happened in the past. It takes practice, because what you have to learn to do is to still your mind and create an intention to reach the inner child. And one of the ways that you can do that is learn to affirm the inner child. When I first started doing this work, it just made sense to me. There weren't any books on it, but just made sense. So if I was constantly told that I was not good enough in various ways, and I was mocked and criticized and called all these names, then I was wounded. And so if what my inner child needed was validation and empathy and kindness, then I have to learn how to give that to myself, right? And I want to make sure that anybody who is struggling, and most people who follow my work, you're struggling, right? And I'm so glad that you found this work, because there is a way out, right? I'm proof. I figured it out. I clawed my way out, and now I teach people how to claw their way out too, but with skills, life skills, it took me many years to figure out, right? But it's all good, because, I'm not upset about how long it took me to figure stuff out anymore. In fact, I understand it was like ninja training, like that's the way I look at it. It was ninja training, I had to fall so many times and figure out what I was doing wrong so many times. And going through that process taught me how to really pull everything together and figure out like how to get through it, in a much, much better way the next time. So every time I failed, I learned something. So I really didn't fail, right? And so affirming the inner child is one of the best ways that you can integrate the past with the present and affect the future. So time is an illusion, and it screws us up, because we think, the 3D ego thinks that, oh, my childhood past, it can't possibly affect me. I've heard this so many times, right? It happened when I was a kid. I can't remember anything. It can't affect me. And I think to myself, well, that's because you don't understand there's no such thing as time. That everything is happening now. There is no such thing as time. That is a construct of the ego and a construct of the human mind. It makes us be able to make sense out of and order out of life. But I can tell you that your past is very much alive inside of you, and your past is affecting your now, and your now is dictating your future. The amazing thing is, and thank goodness for quantum understandings, the amazing thing is if you focus your thought form, and thought is energy, that can become a force, and you can change the direction of your life. You can actually carve yourself a new paradigm. Now, it's not easy. to do this, but it can be done. It absolutely can be done. And so what I would like you guys to do is I would like you to consider that you can speak to the inner child in you today as if your inner child was alive and sitting next to you in a chair. You can actually help heal the wounds of the past and in effect actually change the course of your life, the paradigm. You can actually create a new paradigm. It is absolutely important that you recognize that the past is alive within you. And the past, right, if you're not aware, the past is going to dictate your future. Carl Jung says, paraphrase, that until we make that which is unconscious conscious, it will dictate our life, and what shows up we will call fate. No, it's not the way it has to be. Unfortunately, that's the way it is for a lot of people, right? This is just the way it is. You know, I'm not lucky. I'm not destined for love. I'm not really destined for happiness. No one in my family is really that happy anyway. You know, I'm too old. I've been married 5 times. What are the chances of me finding love at this stage of the game? These are all beliefs, right? And they're all beliefs that are based on past experiences. But what we have to realize is that our belief creates an experience, and then unaware we go, see, I knew it wasn't going to work out, but it only didn't work out because of the belief that it wasn't going to work out. And if to the unawakened mind, this reinforces the idea that we're not good enough, we shouldn't try, it's too hard, this is just the way it's supposed to be. To the awakened mind, we see an opportunity. We see a potential to change what has been. We see glory, we see grace, we see divinity. We begin to understand, oh, okay, I'm a human mind. I have a human mind. I have consciousness. I'm not like a flower or a bee or a peacock or a lion. I can change my destiny if I can change my thoughts, right? And so affirming the inner child sounds like, I'm so happy that you were born. I'm so honored that you are here. The world needs you. You are as important as any star in the sky. You have value. Of course your feelings matter. It's not wrong to be sad. Sad is an emotion. It's good to be happy, but it's good to be sad too, because sad tells you where you are. We all have to know what makes us sad, and we all have to know what makes us happy. So you don't have to judge your feelings. It's okay, whatever you feel. I'm sorry that happened to you. That should have never happened to you. In fact, it's not your fault that that happened to you. Of course you feel bad that that happened. You were a little child. That should have never happened to a small child. Of course you assumed responsibility for it. That's what all children do. Little children don't know that mommy's an alcoholic or daddy's having an affair. Little children don't understand that their parents are flawed, that their parents have wounds, and that their parents aren't perfect. It's not your fault that you assumed your parents were perfect and that what went wrong was your fault. That's not your fault. Of course you feel this way. Of course you feel this way. What do you need? Tell me what you need. Oh, you want to do this? You don't want to go there? Okay, we don't have to do that, and we don't have to go there. Tell me what you need. Oh, you'd like to try that? You'd like to try this? Great. Let's go try this, and let's go try that. So affirming your inner child is really having a conversation with that wounded aspect of you that you know exists, that your brain pushes against, right? So again, when we are living in the ego wants to push our pain away. Sometimes our ego wants us to fight people, wants to punish people for why we feel the way we feel. When we are shame-based, right, depending on our personality style, you know, I was the kind of person where if I felt shamed, I kind of retreated, you know, into myself, and I imploded. And then there were times, like with my ex-husband, it got to the point where I was just like, I was lashing out. Like I couldn't hold it in anymore, you know, and I was embarrassed by what came out of my mouth. It didn't feel like me. It was not me. But based on my level of understanding at the time, I felt stuck. And I wasn't using my emotions as a guide, right? I was reacting to them. And so when we are in ego, we think that we're stuck. And if we understand it from the eye in the sky, if we look at the ego and how the ego operates, the ego is designed to protect the inner child from experiencing additional pain. So if running from a problem will allow you to feel less pain, then the ego will run away from the problem. If the ego, if your personality style is to lash out when wounded, then your ego will cause the behavior to have you lash out. That's the way you get to avoid the emotions. But what I'm asking you to do is to get to a higher level of consciousness, right? And you can do this. I know you can do this. If you have a prefrontal lobe and a neocortex, you can do this. It's called metacognition. And you're actually bypassing ego. You're going into the metaphysical realm. You're going into a higher level of consciousness. And you're accessing the inner child through thought. Bypassing ego, right? Ego doesn't want the inner child to feel. Ego thinks it's its job to protect the inner child from feeling. What I'm asking you to do is to bypass ego, right? So imagine ego is out for a walk, or ego is just taking a nap, and your higher self is saying to the wounded inner child, I absolutely see your wounds, and they are absolutely valid, and none of them are your fault. And in fact, I want to hear them. I want to know all about how you feel, right? And so when you do this, you're bypassing ego. Remember, ego is tied to the here and the now, to the 3D reality, to the physical you, right? But in order for you to be able to access the inner child and to be able to process the wounds, you've got to learn to witness, validate, and express what you feel. And you can do that through metacognition. You can do that by using your prefrontal lobe to imagine that you are the divine mother you always deserved, and you can speak to your inner child in an affirming way. What you can do is make a list of the times in your life where you felt that you really needed to be validated. It could have been when a brother died, or a dog passed away, or your best friend moved away, or when you witnessed something horrible happen between your mother and your father, or you were humiliated, or you were bullied, or you experienced some physical trauma, or some sexual trauma, right? We have to learn how to access that which is within us that is very heavy and dank. Remember, emotions are energy, and energy has mass. And so the more that we've accumulated over time in terms of trauma and grief and loss that has not been experienced, the heavier we feel, right? That's what depression feels like, right? Those of us who have learned to heal, we ascend, and we ascend through the processing of and through the appreciation of what we've experienced. So we're learning to purge and allow ourselves to feel what we feel. So affirming the inner child in this way is a wonderful way to feel lighter and to process and to dissolve that which is keeping you stuck. So I really do hope that for anyone out there who is still feeling dank, right? And if you are wishing to transcend ego, if you are wishing to find a way to feel more light in your body, to feel less pulled down by your fears, know that any fear that you have today is related to a fear that was created yesterday, right? And so our adult issues are always the result, in most cases, of our childhood issues. If we feel insecure today, that's because we felt insecure of being worthy of love when we were children. That's not your adult fault. That's not your adult self's fault. That's a consequence, right? It's a consequence. So what you want to do is understand the ego is going to want you to deny, deflect, project, and all that stuff. But that's not going to allow you to be able to dissolve the emotions and to resolve the emotions that are keeping you stuck. So I hope that this short video has made it a little bit clearer about what direction you can go in to feel more spiritually integrated mind, body, and soul, right? And so you want to bypass ego through the ability to connect with higher self and to affirm the inner child. Both of these processes, affirming the inner child, becoming the mother self or the ideal divine mother, right? Taking on the narrative of a divine mother happens in a higher level of consciousness, right? And so it's in a metaphysical realm that you speak to the inner child that is still alive within you in a metaphysical realm. You can feel them. You know that they exist. So I say, do what you can to bypass ego because ego is going to want you to push away and deflect and project and go into denial about what you feel, and access what you feel by validating it through the power of metacognition, by becoming the affirming parent you always deserved. Namaste, dear ones. Until next time. And please don't forget about my free webinar. It's going to happen on May 15th at 6 p.m. It's going to be this style. I'm not even sure I'm going to have slides for the presentation. I haven't decided. I think we're just going to dig into codependency, narcissistic abuse, shame-based adulthood, belief systems, the consequences of that, and what some of our options are in terms of staying on the recovery path. I will be introducing the 12-week. We just finished up a 12-week class, and it was amazing. The transformations are absolutely amazing. Got lots of testimonials from the class. Many of the people who completed the class are actually here live. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, so please, even if you've taken the 12-week, join us. Join us for the live webinar, and we'll get some of your questions answered. And the main thing that I want to make sure that I do in my life is to make sure that people who feel hopeless, people who feel like giving up, people who feel like they've tried everything and they just don't believe that their life can be amazing. They don't believe that their life can be awesome. You know, I want an opportunity to change that belief in you and help you turn that around so that you can live an amazing life. When you do that, you benefit the entire world. When you are able to transcend the darkness that is within you, which is not your fault, by the way, right? When you're able to transcend that shit, the entire world benefits. The world becomes a lighter and brighter place. The world becomes indebted to you because you have helped transcend darkness. And think about one person healing, right? One person being able to transcend the darkness within, which is not your fault in the first place. But I want you to really, really think about the idea that if you change your life and you go from not believing to believing that you can live an amazing life, think about all the people you affect. Think about your children. Think about your animals. Think about your house. Think about the people you come in contact with. Think about how your life, you know, is able to impact the lives of so many other people. Another thing to think about how much darkness you saved the world. When I think about the path that I was on, oh my God. And when I think about the chaos that could have ensued with my own children and my marriage and my family and my ex's family, you know, and how this disease, codependency and unconsciousness, right? How this could have spread into the lives of my children when they started to attract partners, and what could have happened in the lives of my future grandchildren had I not corrected my thinking, had I not fixed myself. I can only imagine. And then I think about, one of my clients said today, Lisa, think about all the people that you've affected because you've changed, right? Oh my God, that is enormous. And I'm just one person. So when you think about all of you out there and the effects that you can have on your families, I mean, this is literally the way we change the world, one person at a time. So much darkness is saved when one person heals. I'm talking generations, people. Seriously. One person changes, and that changes future generations forever. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. So I hope that, you know, this has helped you, and I hope that you consider joining May 15th. As of right now, only the first 100 people to arrive. It doesn't matter when you register, but only the first 100 people that arrive for the call will be able to possibly talk to me live. So if you really, really want an opportunity to talk to me live and take part in the live webinar, please get there early. You know, and there will be a repeat of it. We will send out some recordings, but if you actually want to participate in the live webinar, I suggest getting there early. So thank you for being here. The power is within you. The power has always been within you. The problem is that we give too much, we believe too much in our 3D person. in what's showing up right here, right now. And we don't know how to heal the past. We just don't. And once you figure that out, then you affect the now and then you affect your future. So thank you so much for being you. Until next time. Bye for now.
Hi, I'm Manuela, and I wanted to give a testimonial for Lisa A. Romano's masterclass program that I am just finishing up right now. I have also taken the 12-week program, and after I took the 12-week program, I was really excited about taking the masterclass. I had to wait several months, but what I found that was very surprising when I started taking the masterclass program, just how fun it is, how delicious the information is that Lisa gives you in manifesting your future desires. And I finally had gotten that, yes, you can manifest these things in your life that you've always wished and desired. Uh, that was one of my takeaways, actually. The master class has improved my ability to even change my thoughts even more over the 12-week program. And one of them being, for example, the gift of being non-resistant to what is or what happens, and also understanding the laws of the universe. I think those are very, very important. The program was very easy to follow, and I was also very excited every week to approach a new subject matter for the law of attraction. And it is something that I know that I will be going back time and time again and referencing time and time again, especially in the areas where I may feel are a little bit difficult for me right now, such as the relationship. The relationship week, that was a little bit hard for me, since uh, coming out of a situation. But I am very hopeful for the future now, more so than I ever was before, in being able to attract a, a relationship that is better for me than the ones that have been in the past. My greatest takeaways from the whole masterclass have been the definitely the universal laws and how they function and how they work, and how to use the law of attraction, and how the law of attraction actually works and how it doesn't work. I've known about law of attraction now for almost 20 years, and did not know that a lot of the things that I was doing or thinking or saying or behaving in a way that actually killed my desires before they even got started. So I am just very excited and very hopeful that I now have the tools in my chest, thanks to Lisa Romano, that I will be able to create more and more of the life that I think, A, I deserve, B, I'm worthy of, and I want to say thank you to Lisa Romano in regards to that. It has been really such an honor and such a blessing to have found her and to have taken these classes. So thank you.